So Kurt Angle recently commented on the AEW versus WWE war, and he said something that caught my attention, and I think he's absolutely wrong about this in the grand scheme of things. And let's get into it, because there's a fan base there's three different fan bases in pro wrestling right now among the top tier promotions: WB, AEW. You have WB fans, you have AEW fans, you have wrestling fans. Wrestling fans, they don't care if WB has a bad product or a good product. They're going to watch because they're wrestling fans, and vice versa for AEW and any other promotion. Kurt Angle was on the goo. I'm going to botch the hell out this name. He did a recent interview, I'll just say that, and he discussed the war between AEW and WB. And he gave some interesting comments. He said, I think everyone's doing a great job or a good job in today, WB and AEW. It's crazy because fans pick sides. They pick who their favorite is, and WB is still in the lead. I think they'll always be in the lead. Don't get me wrong, AEW is doing great. But they've done pretty well on ratings. From time to time, they've actually come close to beating WB in ratings at certain points, which is not true. But the WB is just a monster. They're a company that's worth $9 billion. And when you have that kind of money behind you, it's just really hard to compete with that. Don't get me wrong, Tony Khan has money too, but it's not WB type of money, end quote. Keep in mind, the $9 billion is what the company is valued at, not how much money they have. Tony Khan and AEW obviously does not draw the TV rights that WB does. They do not draw the attendance that WB does. They do not draw merchandise sales like WB does. And they don't have a gigantic fat contracts with Fox for SmackDown, USA or NBCU for Raw, also a TV deal with NXT, and oh, by the way, guaranteed money from NBCU to air their premium live events on Peacock, as well as their tape library. Now, I've noticed a lot of people have pointed this out, and I agree. Yes, AEW beat NXT, a developmental show, head-to-head in the ratings, and did so for like every week but one. And they deserve credit for that. But Tony Khan's father, and oh, by the way, AEW investor Shad Khan, he is worth $12 billion. So if we're going to play this net worth game, Shad outranks WB. Not to say he has $12 billion, just like to say that WB doesn't have $9 billion. Now, does WWE as a business on its own make more money than AEW? Absolutely. But this idea of, well, there's such a big gap that it's not even worth the argument, worth a conversation, which is essentially what Angle's talking about here, when he says WB is just a monster. And when you have that kind of money behind you, a la $9 billion, it's really hard to compete with that. Not necessarily. Look, before the whole CM Punk implosion, AEW was actually coming up on Raw's certain key demos. And then things went awry. Just like people thought in the 80s and early 90s that, WCW could never compete with WB. You're out y'all damn mind. Anybody can compete with anybody if the right circumstances and the right funding is behind them. Currently, is WB beating AEW in the competition war? 1,000%. But you can't just knock AEW off the mountaintop and just say, oh, you can't compete. Anybody can compete. And just like WB can be on the top of the mountain, AEW could as well. Will it happen in our lifetimes or anytime soon? I don't know. And Angle doesn't know. And you don't know. But I thought that was interesting comments by Kurt Angle.